On the morning of February 27, 2026, Oman's Foreign Minister Badr al-Busaydi stood before cameras in Geneva and gave a thumbs up. He said a breakthrough had been reached. He said peace was, in his exact words, within reach. Iran had agreed to never stockpile enriched uranium. Talks would resume on March 2 for technical sessions in Vienna. The diplomat called it a historic moment that had never been achieved in any previous round of negotiations. He was not wrong about the history. He was simply wrong about what came next. Less than 36 hours later, the bombs fell on Tehran. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched what the Pentagon designated Operation Epic Fury, a coordinated assault on Iranian nuclear sites, missile batteries, military headquarters, and the compound where Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was working at his desk. By the following morning, Iranian state media confirmed what it called his martyrdom. 7 senior Iranian security officials were killed alongside him, including Defense Minister Aziz Naserzadeh, IRGC Commander Mohammad Pakpour, and Defense Council Secretary Ali Shamkhani. The decapitation of an entire security apparatus in a single night. The Iranian government declared 40 days of national mourning. Then it began firing back. Since that first night, Iran has launched more than 300 ballistic missiles at Israel and fired an estimated 2,000 drones across 9 countries. Bahrain, Iraq, Jordan, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Israel itself. The cumulative toll, as of March 27, stands at approximately 1,937 people killed inside Iran by U.S.-Israeli strikes. In Israel, 19 have been killed. 13 American soldiers are confirmed dead from Iranian strikes across the region. 25 people have died in Gulf states. The U.S. military cost, as of March 19, was calculated at $18 billion, with the Pentagon requesting an additional $200 billion. And the war is now entering its 28th day with no ceasefire in sight. Pause on that number, 36 hours. That is the distance between a diplomatic breakthrough and an act of war. On March 1, the morning after Khamenei was killed, a single Iranian ballistic missile found a residential neighborhood in Beit Shemesh, 18 miles from Jerusalem. It struck a synagogue that was being used as a shelter. At least 2 interceptors were launched against it and failed. 9 civilians were killed, including a woman named Sarah Elimelech and her daughter Ronit, a volunteer paramedic whose medical vest and kit were found in the rubble before she was. 2 of Ronit's children were pulled from the debris alive. This is what the collapse of a diplomatic framework looks like when it reaches ground level. Israel's multi-layered missile defense system. Iron Dome for short-range rockets, David Sling for medium-range threats, the Arrow system for ballistic missiles from Iran, was not built for this volume. By day 5, Iranian missile launches had dropped sharply, and analysts from the Jewish Institute for National Security of America concluded that U.S. and Israeli strikes had eliminated as many as 3/4 of Iran's pre-war missile launcher capacity. But the remaining quarter was still enough. Iran armed a significant portion of its missiles with cluster munitions, weapons that scatter dozens of smaller explosive charges across a radius of 10 kilometers. The Convention on Cluster Munitions bans them. More than 100 nations have signed it. Iran has not. The official rationale for the attack shifted almost daily in the days that followed. Trump administration officials cited the need to preempt Iranian retaliation, the need to destroy missile capabilities, the need to prevent a nuclear weapon, the need to secure natural resources, and the goal of regime change. Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Special Envoy who had led negotiations in Geneva, went on Fox News 3 days after the strikes began and said that Iranian negotiators had bragged to him personally that Iran's enriched uranium stockpile could produce nearly 11 nuclear bombs. A Persian Gulf diplomat with direct knowledge of the same conversation told reporters that this account was, quote, categorically inaccurate. The diplomat said the Iranians had told Witkoff that the enriched uranium could all go away if a deal was reached and sanctions were lifted. That Witkoff had not misheard, but had characterized the same material in a fundamentally opposite way. Here is why that matters. The Arms Control Association later obtained recordings of the background briefings Witkoff gave to reporters on February 28 and March 3. Their analysis found that Witkoff had misidentified the purpose of Iran's Tehran research reactor, claiming it was being used to stockpile weapons-grade material, when in fact it is a decades-old facility supplied originally by the United States, designed to produce medical isotopes, and operating well within IAEA-monitored parameters. Critics noted that neither Witkoff nor Jared Kushner, who co-led the U.S. delegation, brought nuclear technical experts to any session in Geneva. Eyewitnesses reported that Witkoff took no substantive notes during 5 previous sessions in 2025. The war's economic damage now extends far beyond the battlefield. Iran sealed the Strait of Hormuz on March 2, the day a senior IRGC official formally confirmed its closure. The strait, 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, carries 20 million barrels of oil every day, roughly 20% of global seaborne oil trade. Tanker traffic dropped by approximately 70% within days. War risk shipping insurance premiums for transit through Hormuz multiplied overnight, adding $250,000 per voyage for large oil tankers. Oil prices surged above $100 a barrel. On March 19, the U.S. began a military campaign to force the strait open, striking more than 8,000 Iranian military targets according to Admiral Brad Cooper, including 130 vessels. Iran responded by planting naval mines. The U.S. destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels. The mines remained. Iran's new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, the son of the man killed in the opening strike, issued his first public statement on March 13. He said the Strait of Hormuz would remain closed. Oil spiked again. The head of Abu Dhabi National Oil Company called it economic terrorism, saying that when Iran holds Hormuz hostage, every nation pays the ransom at the gas pump, at the grocery store, at the pharmacy. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, 2 weeks into the conflict, issued a temporary authorization permitting countries to purchase Russian oil stranded at sea. The administration that launched the war was now quietly easing sanctions on Russian energy to compensate for the disruption. By March 21, the U.S. used bunker-buster bombs on the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility. The IAEA called for military restraint and warned of the risk of a nuclear accident. Russia condemned the strike as a blatant violation of international law. Iran responded by targeting the southern Israeli city of Dimona, home to Israel's own nuclear research center, injuring at least 78 people. Neither side announced what it was actually aiming at. Both knew. As of March 26, on the 27th day of war, Israel announced extensive new strikes on Isfahan and said it had killed the head of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard's navy. Iran fired 2 waves of missiles at central Israel in less than 30 minutes. Trump on the same day extended a deadline for Iran to reopen the strait, pushing his threatened strike on Iranian power plants to April 6 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. He posted this on Truth Social. Pakistan's foreign minister confirmed that indirect U.S.-Iran talks were underway, messages being relayed through Islamabad. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi said Tehran would continue its resistance and had no intention of negotiating. Both statements were issued on the same day. And somewhere in between those two positions. Between the American president announcing via social media that he was delaying the destruction of a nation's power grid, and the Iranian foreign minister who sat across a table in Geneva just 4 weeks ago describing a historic agreement as within reach, somewhere in that gap, there are 8 Pakistani-flagged oil tankers that Iran quietly allowed through the Strait of Hormuz this week, which Trump called a present, which he said proved they were dealing with the right people.